Good evening and welcome to the Cover One Buffalo podcast. You are joining your host, Greg Tompsett, and my victorious, wonderful, beautiful, handsome co-host, Aaron Quinn. Aaron, how does it feel?
Holy cow. First of all, Greg, I've remembered my victory jumbo. So let's pop those boys. Let's pop some jumbos tonight. It's been a minute since I remembered. It's good to know. I got to go head down to Uncle Jumbo's, by the way. I'll head down over on Elmwood, their tasting room, and grab some more.
I'm due for a refill. I need more.
Maybe I'll send you some. Yeah, you hear that sound? It sounds great. So cheers to the Buffalo Bills here.
Cheers.
What a fantastic day, Greg. I wasn't supposed to be here with you. I ended up getting stuck.
We were
not going on a trip.
Making backup plans.
And we got to celebrate with this game, and I can't wait to talk to you for about an hour and then get on Twitter and just celebrate all night. What a fantastic cap to the weekend for us, Greg. I'm so excited right now. I'm ready to get into it. Let's go.
Yeah, so obviously you are joining us because the Buffalo Bills have defeated the Pittsburgh Steelers 38-3 in what was not that close of a game, amazingly.
Wow.
We're going to go through some of the breakdowns here, some of the different things that could have happened and were moving as the event and game was going on, but ultimately the Buffalo Bills controlled this game from start to finish. There was never really any threat of anything throughout the game. It was pretty rough. And honestly, but they took their foot off the gas the entire fourth quarter. So it certainly could have been, and we'll get into some of the mistakes that actually could have made the score even higher and some of the things that were there. But, we'll start with some off the top. Josh Allen, 20 of 31, 424 yards, 4 touchdowns, did have an interception that was on him. That was a risky pass.
Great. Good play by Levi.
That
play works more times than not.
Oh yeah. Usually the receiver, big boys, the corner there and comes.
That's where Levi's length has always been and always existed for him. So
good on him.
Do that. Yeah.
But, and that was Josh didn't play the fourth quarter. And to have 424 and 4 touchdowns and 42 yards rushing all in 3 quarters. Good Lord, man.
Absolutely wild. Yeah, no. My sign behind me for those that are going to be listening on the podcast for him, Josh broke football guys. It's happened last year, and I won't lie, I was a little bit nervous that he'd come crashing back down to earth here this year and become, more normal QB, but he's still right there with the Patrick Mahomes of the world. Like it's him and Patrick Mahomes and then everybody else. Lamar Jackson. I'll put Lamar in there, even though he had a terrible game. I don't know what he did.
I'll put him today. I even think he is in that next group. I think you still have, because I think guys like Rodgers, Brady, Lamar, maybe even Herbert can have games like Josh and Mahomes does. Josh and Mahomes are just doing it all the time. They are at another level constantly all the time. And it's really special to see in a day like today where, he was just chucking it deep on them. Maybe like I've never seen. I don't know that I've ever seen him go or intentionally go deep as often as he did today. And it was scary.
Yeah. It was, to me, honestly, reminiscent of, what was it, the 2007 Patriots that
that Randy Moss year.
Like Brady was just throwing it deep and seeing what happened, and it always came up in favor of them. And we saw that with the Bills today. Again, Levi Wallace had a great play on that Gabe Davis touchdown that we'll get to a little later, and Davis just ripped it out of his hands. Everything ended up coming up Bills whenever Josh Allen put the ball in the air. But it seems to be that's not just sort of an anomalous trend in the data. Like this has been kind of happening for him over his last 8 football games so far. So totally outmatched. I predicted the 31-10, so I was still close again this week.
And I predicted 38 and a number that ends in 3.
There you go.
I had 38-13, so we were both right there. We knew, and I think this came up. We had a pretty heated debate in our Cover One staff chat about when the injury report came out and things that were there.
How do you manage that?
And I get it. Like I understand the idea of like, hey, you can't look past things. You got to be able to stay, locked in, and we're missing a lot of important guys. And what if he pushes the ball deep and things like that? And I think you and I were consistently never wavering on, I get what you're saying. These two teams are not in the same class. They're just not in our weight class. Like it would have been it would have needed to be a historic breakdown to get to that point. And, I was literally begging people in the chat, saying, do not bet on this game against the Bills. I'm okay if you don't bet on the Bills. If 14 points is too much for you, I'm okay with that. Crazy stuff happens. I could have seen some weird games that were 27-10 and all of a sudden they score a garbage touchdown at the end. And, I get it. If you're not
NFL games aren't
that,
big spreads, right?
Yeah, like wonky stuff happens, but do not bet on Pittsburgh or take these points. There is, and again, it happened. It was 31-3 at halftime.
Yeah, this could have gotten way uglier.
Josh had it was, I think, 348 yards at halftime. Like, if this was a game they needed, he legitimately could have shattered records today.
Yeah, and we'll get into the quarter by quarter, drive by drive. There was meat on the bone in that first half, which is crazy. We'll talk about some of the first half stats that they came up with, but there's still a lot of meat on the bone, and that's what's insane to me with this team is even when they play this type of football. I mean, outside of that Patriots playoff game, it hasn't actually been perfect. So there's always stuff they can find and go back to really dig in and try to improve upon that. But no, these two teams, this would have been a Jaguars game type collapse for that Bills team. And why I didn't feel like that was going to be the case, this offense has already proven to be able to be the offense we saw at the end of the year last year. Going into that Jaguars game, the offense was really up and down, right? They were that high variable team that had no consistency on the offensive side of the ball, and the defense was playing well. And we saw it sort of play out in that game. It felt reminiscent of the Tyrod Bills at that period in time. I think when we were talking on the show, you had people having those conversations in our chats that the offense just couldn't get anything going, and this defense felt like that. Well, now going into this game, you're coming up again against the inferior opponent with a big spread. I think people felt like that was what, the Bills have played down to teams here in the past in the McDermott era, even though they win those games and get the spreads, that this spread felt too big. But yeah, everything leading up to this game, Greg, even when the injury report came out and seeing the holes in the middle of the defense, my confidence never wavered in my prediction in that type of boat race game. It's just the two organizations are in totally different spots.
Yeah.
Kind of a terrible idea by Tomlin to go put Pickett. He had a good stat line game, but throwing him out in that situation was almost
garbage stuff.
It was garbage stats. Putting him in that situation was almost unfair to the confidence.
I will say, he did have a couple decent third down conversions. Yeah. I thought he had some clutch,
a real connection,
tough third down conversions.
A real connection there with him and Pickens. The Pickens connection could be a thing. Like Steelers fans can talk themselves into that.
Pickens is special.
Pickens is a special dude. And so that's all good. But yeah, and I thought they put him in a situation where there was no chance he was going to win, even with the plethora of injuries on the defense that Leslie Frazier and Sean McDermott are going to throw too many things your way. So shame on them for putting him in that situation anyway.
Couple other quick things from the box score before we do our quarter by quarter breakdown. Probably one of the better rushing games we saw today. Not a ton. In that there were probably only 11 called runs, although a couple of Josh's were called runs.
Right.
But Devin 6 for 42, Cook 4 for 31, Moss 1 for 7. If you tell me that our running back group is going to get 11 carries for 80 yards, I'm going to take that every day. Yeah. This game was all about the passing game, and the top three, we knew that nobody could keep up with Diggs. We talked about a lot in our preview. He went 8 for 102 and a touchdown.
11 targets there.
Gabe, obviously the deep ball, and his stat line looks ridiculous. 57 yards per catch, 3 for 171 and 2 touchdowns is absurd.
He only makes big plays. It's crazy. Like really since he came into the league, when he comes in, it's like a crazy toe drag swag. Yeah.
Second clip here. Yeah. Second touchdown. Davis brought the ball down with one hand, then out muscled Minkah Fitzpatrick. If anybody
was it Minkah or Levi? Was Levi there or Minkah?
That one was Minkah. The second one was Minkah. Because Minkah Fitzpatrick had the ball in his hands in the end zone.
It was a great play.
And it was like a split second away from being an interception. And then Gabe Davis yanked it back. Yeah. So Gabe, just like I said, he brought it in with one hand. Minkah took it and had two hands in his belly. And then Gabe took it back. Yeah. So that combo was crazy. And then big shout out to Khalil Shakur. 3 catches for 75 yards, first career touchdown, 1 bad drop. But great breakout game, great intro game. And I loved seeing Josh run over and grab the ball on his touchdown for his first career touchdown and make sure that he kept it. That was really, really cool. We'll get through some of the defensive stuff here. I thought Terrell Dotson had a great game. I thought, I think they did pick on Elam a little bit, but he kept things in front of him. He didn't give up big plays. He gave up more catches than I would love, but also came back with a nice interception. And the defensive line looked good. Sacks from, Von Miller, AJ Epinesa, and some consistent pressure all day. I think they hit Pickett like 10 times total. So definitely a good dominant game there. And 38-3, of course, it's going to be pretty dominant across the board.
Yeah, I was going to say it's hard to not have a dominant performance, but really when we break into the actual breakdown of this game, the defense kind of kept it alive early, right? Like this was the type of start to a game where it could get out of hand for you if your defense isn't coming up with stops, right? The Bills offense still did struggle early in the game in the red zone. They turned the ball over. They settled for a field goal. They had the missed field goal. That's the kind of recipe for a team like the Steelers to hang around if they're going to. But when your defense has the clamps on and puts together some of the quick 3 and outs and gets Josh Allen back out on the field, you have a performance like you saw today where the offense finally does get clicking, and then that's it. They start boat racing. But overall thoughts on this defense? Yeah, Elam had a tough day. He'll get graded poorly by PFF.
Yeah. And he's a rookie with traits and talent and skill that flash.
Sure.
But he's still a rookie.
Sure. And go back, Trey White had some rough games as a rookie too. And what we got to remember in this defense is not every reception or every target that shows up on PFF is necessarily a bad thing. Not all receptions are created equally. So go back and look at some of those receptions. Some George Pickens is just making great plays because he is going to legitimately be a top wide receiver 1 in the NFL. Like he's that kind of guy. There was good coverage and he just makes a good play. Pickens put some balls in good spots today too. And another thing is the zone style defense that the Bills play is Elam can be doing his job exactly and keeping the play in front of him, and a reception can happen and that can still be a positive play, and the Bills will grade him positively when they do their grade. So keep that in mind here this week when people start ripping on Elam, and that it's not all bad.
Those 5 and 7 yard catches on 2nd and 10.
Part of it.
That's what the design is. Design is.
Yes, this defense is a bend but don't break kind of style of defense. They're going to show you different looks. They're going to get into different coverages and force you to make bad throws or put the ball in a specific part of the defense. And as long as they're tackling, they're going to be okay with you picking up a few first downs. Sean McDermott has talked about not really particularly caring about yards. Like it's really about what happens in those possessions and those drives. And they were the Pittsburgh Steelers were 5 of 15 on 3rd down today. So ultimately when it mattered, even though Elam gave up some plays and he got that interception, but ultimately when it mattered, they weren't able to put anything together. Like he didn't get scored on. They weren't able to score in the end zone.
And out of those 5 conversions, they were 0 for 3 in the 4th down conversions after that. So that means they ended 12 of the drives in that fashion.
Yeah, and there was a lot of quick ones, under a minute drives, 3 plays, 2 yards, 3 plays, 8 yards. Just like, so overall the defense was good, and we'll nitpick the Elam stuff. But I think under the radar, I want to give shout outs. Taron Johnson and Matt Milano were all over the place today.
Absolutely.
In the run game, in the pass game, they just seem to always be swarming. Although Nance and Romo couldn't get the names right for either one of those guys. And Hamlin, they kept associating tackles for Hamlin from other people. And I thought Hamlin was flying around to the ball everywhere today.
The best game I've seen from Hamlin.
Yeah, absolutely. He had 8 tackles in the day. I'm excited to go back and sort of watch some of the coverage stuff. But I thought some of the pre-snap stuff and the way he looked athletically moving around, I think mattered into how Pickett threw some of those balls. Romo highlighted one where they thought they had the one-on-one look. And I think Pickett maybe thought they had a free play, which is why he threw it up. But Hamlin got back into coverage. He wasn't going to get that play anyway. He didn't expect Hamlin to be there. So excited to see that. Overall, with what a massive hole they had in that middle of the defense. Dotson filled in well. Hamlin and Johnson seemed to fill in well without actually being able to watch the tape. But that's a big hole to come in and fill again, even against
Boyer, Hyde, and Tremaine Edmonds. That is the entire center field of that defense.
It's pretty crazy how good they looked again against a rookie quarterback, but there were some athletes on the other side of the ball and guys that can make plays with the ball, and they still came up and tackled and didn't allow anything to break loose, which good on them in that spot.
Yeah. So a couple quick things. One, take a quick second, go and press the like button. It really, really helps us. We need that. People ask all the time what you can do to help us. Press the like button. It really helps tell the people about it. William Swan here talking about no major injuries today.
Knock on wood that we haven't heard of.
Fantastic. Maybe a flare up for Jordan Phillips' hamstring. That was about it. And I like this one from Philip, saying with the rookie showing out today, Shakir's first touchdown, Cook's first touchdown, Elam's first interception. That was nice. Why don't you lead us off here going into the first quarter?
Yeah, man. So Bills get the ball, start the game. What a weird start to this game, though. Taiwan Jones, a veteran dude that you totally expect in this situation, just come in and catch the ball and take a knee, right? That's what I'm expecting to Taiwan Jones. Or if you're going to take it out, that you're just going to get that guaranteed 20 yards. But instead, he muffs it and then kind of indecisive along the goal line, ends up just running horizontally and ended up getting at the one. You really feel bad. They start off with a bad drive. It's 3rd and 10, and Josh just literally chucked the ball as far as he could. He out threw coverage, and Gabe Davis was wide open underneath. It was reminiscent of the KC game, reminiscent of Gabe Davis doing this multiple times already, even this year. The ankle looked good. That was good to see. Like he just took the top right off the defense, something the Bills have been missing while he was out and banged up, and got right back in this gear, took the game over right from the start of it with that 3rd and 10, 98-yarder to Gabe Davis. I told you in text, we count toxic differential, Greg. This one should have counted as a +4 right to start the game for the Bills offense. What a swing to go from a muff punt, 3rd and 10, backed up on your own goal line to just chuck it up for a touchdown. We haven't seen anything like this since the TO touchdown from Fitzpatrick, a play that big.
It tied the franchise record for the longest play in franchise history. And yeah, you were in a position where, if you want to give a underdog a chance, you get a quick, ugly safety or a quick defensive touchdown or a
bad punt.
Look what happened in last year's game, a blocked punt that goes back, or you punt and give them the ball at the 40 coming in with like 1 minute into the game. And I'm sitting there just staring at the offensive line saying, oh my God, don't let, a holding penalty happen for a safety. Don't have anything weird happen. Don't let anybody get to Josh. And then I see him step up and like, oh, he's going kind of, oh my God. And you just see the ball. Stephen Burns here talking next gen stats. He had 2 60+ air yard completions in this game. The later one was also 60+ yards in the air, which is
for context for people that talk about air yards. When there was that conversation going around about Josh Allen in the 20+ yard air yard throws. Even those plays in the NFL are a minority of the plays. When you start getting above 30 air yards, like I challenge anybody to go to any stat sites and dial it to 30+ air yards. You start getting into like 5 throws for some quarterbacks. Like there's not a lot of guys that are putting the ball above that. So to go to 60, you don't see a lot of throws in the NFL go that many yards.
There are entire seasons where the longest air yards completion is in the 50s, where no one in the entire league completes a ball where the ball is in the air 60+ yards.
And this was literally into the wind. So the Bills were here in this first quarter playing into the wind, which I thought I was outside this morning doing some stuff in the yard around here in Western New York. It didn't seem that breezy, a little breezy, but it really showed up early in this game. You saw a kickoff just get caught in the wind. Obviously issues with snaps that we'll get into in a little bit, but it was substantial wind. And he put this 65 air yard throw into the wind. I can't imagine what he would have done if he uncorked that with the wind at his back in that game. Who knows how far that thing could have
gone. Shameless plug here. Shout out to my lovely, beautiful, smart cousin Christine, who just got engaged. Congratulations.
Yeah. That's fun. Yeah. It's my anniversary this week. So it's a good time of year to be in love,
Good time to get that rolling. So one last thing before we move on to the next drive, which was kind of weird. In that a lot of people have been talking, and I don't listen to a ton of Bills podcasts, but I listen to a ton of football podcasts. So I listen to a lot of like the national ones, and a lot of the different guys that I really respect, Robert Mays, Nate Tice, Kevin Clark, Ben Solak, a lot of really like smart football people have been talking a lot about the evolution of why quarterback play has been rough this year, scoring is down this year, fantasy points are down this year, and that it's because these defenses have figured out this cover 2. And that it's really got
everything's cyclical, Greg.
And they've talked about that the only answer is under or over. Like cover 2 takes away everything from 5 yards to 25 yards.
You're either chipping away or you explode it.
So and most teams think you need to run the ball or to have quick checkdowns that get it into space and just nickel and dime them to death. He said, but if you set it up right, one of the other ways to beat it is to go over the 2 safeties and just dare them to keep going deeper and then reopen that 15 to 20 range because they have to go 30 yards deep because they're terrified of you. And Josh putting this on film is really interesting of what it does the rest of the season and how teams are going to affect that. If they're saying, oh my God, he's willing to just chuck it 60 yards downfield on a whim, I mean, that's a crazy weapon to have.
We know that, though. You got to guard everyone in the NFL, I think, at this point. If you already don't know when you're playing Mahomes and Allen, that you have to literally guard every blade of grass on that football field. That's why he's allowed to do that to these cover 2s. Like, Cover 2 popped up, whatever, a decade ago and shut down all these offenses, right? And you saw teams take the cover 2 to the Super Bowl. And then now it has popped back up over the last few years with the explosion of the QB play. And I think Mahomes is figuring it out. I think Allen's figuring it out. But very few QBs can figure it out unless you can force a team to guard every blade of grass, because every defense has a vulnerability if you can get to it, right?
Yep. So weirdly,
Yeah.
the next drive,
Another one, the wind, man.
Another fluky kickoff. So not, and I think Tywan Jones was more on him. This one was really tough. That like you could see, I think James Pierre was running up to like the 17 or 18 yard line from the end zone because the wind pulled it back so much.
Reminiscent of that McKenzie one in the Washington game.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and it's, don't get me wrong, his job is to catch the ball. You can't let that happen, but really tough spot. Muffs it.
For a backup, too. He's not the primary kick returner.
Weirdly, something happened to the primary kick returner's eye, and he was out of the first kick return. That's a tough one. Yeah. So muffs it. The Bills get the ball there, and at that point, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to get like historically out of hand.
Yeah.
And it was, we saw a little bit of a dump off. Then there was a holding penalty that called back what was a first down. It should have been, 1st and 10 from like I think Pittsburgh 9. And then it would have been 1st and goal, but the holding penalty takes it back, and then they trigger on a Stephon Diggs screen. So it ends up getting to where it's 3rd and 20, and he takes a deep shot, and then you have the field goal gets blocked. So all of a sudden, I'm like, all right, well, that's kind of weird.
I didn't get to see back that field goal because in the broadcast they were saying like maybe the snap got blown weird or that it went off. Like they didn't really show it again that I saw.
The best one that I saw, was also just a guess, was that he was worried about the wind and just was trying to bring it down to drive it, and brought it down just a little bit too much and let them, because it actually got blocked by like a guy's helmet. It wasn't like some pretty crazy high. Yeah. So like they think that he either mishit it or brought it down too much trying to drive through the wind, because you got to remember he also just had that kickoff that got blown 20 yards back into his face.
Right.
So he just saw how powerful the wind was in that moment. So it was a low kick. I'm not 100% sure if it was him strategically doing that and just went too much, or a mishit, but either way it wasn't great. And then you compound that with some credit to Pickett. They come back after that miss, put together a 12-play, 50-yard drive. It was a lot of dink and dunk, a couple decent plays to Pickens.
Multiple third downs on that drive.
Yes, converted. Matter of fact, their only third down conversions got 2 out of the ones they actually did get there in that game, and got down to where they had a field goal. And now all of a sudden it's 7-3 when it kind of looked like it was going to be 14-0. And, you're like, all right, don't let this team hang around. And they come back right in again, still in the first quarter, and the Bills answer back with a nice deep shot to Shakir. Looks like they're rolling again, and then a couple things again in the red zone, some incomplete passes. I don't know if do you think he just had a bad pass and missed Diggs on that out route, or do you think the wind pushed it a little bit?
I think, he missed a couple of those today, and pretty bad, which seems rare. So I think maybe a couple of them got hung up with Gus. Maybe I hate to sound like a guy misses. Just like giving him an out for the misses.
My guess is maybe it probably was a miss, and then the wind made it look worse.
Like he made it worse. Yeah. It could be, but uncharacteristic in how bad some of the misses looked today on some of those types of throws on those outs.
And then you actually did get Bass converts one, makes the kick, actually like striped it dead center.
35-yarder
was pretty nice.
Yeah.
And then wrapping up the first quarter, they punt it down to the 2-yard line, and you're sitting there, and I'm like, oh my God, are they going to go 98 yards twice?
Right.
To be able to do this. And then you could take this one, what they go through in that quarter or that drive going into the second quarter.
Well, also, I want to just kudos to the defense, because you had that, you come down again and you stall a little bit on that drive, settle for a field goal, and it feels frustrating because the talent on this team that you should just run it up. You've already gotten the ball in good position and weren't able to capitalize on it with the missed field goal. And then now you get the ball down there again within good position, you kind of stall out again, aren't able to capitalize on it. It starts to feel like one of those games that early on I felt like, oh man, we're going to let this dumb team hang around in this game and put tons of pressure on a hurt defense. Well, defense gets a stop. It was a 3-play, 4-yard drive. It took 2 minutes for some reason. I'll have to go back and watch why that took so long to run 3 plays and get only 4 yards. But really, when they needed it the most and the opportunities that the Steelers did have to make something of this game, the defense clamped them every single time. And then the Bills come out, and really, this is where the boat racing begins. 1 play, 62-yard touchdown drive, 10 seconds, Gabe Davis for Josh Allen. It's the one we talked about earlier. Just unbelievable play by Josh Allen, Gabe Davis to come out after, again, you get the big 3 and out. You're feeling a little bit better. The type of momentum shift in your own building to come and just have that Mike Tyson knockout capability where, okay, this undersized fighter can hang with you for a second in this first round, but at some point I'm going to get a punch in and knock you out and run this game out of town. And this is exactly where it happened. Mike Tyson woke up, caught you with a jab, rung your bell, and the game got completely out of control from this point forward. It just unrecoverable for the Steelers from here.
Yeah, in this quarter as a whole, you're talking in the second quarter, it ended up being 21-0 as they ran through everything with it, and a lot of them on those kind of big plays, the 62-yarder, then you get another quick 3 and out, then you get the 53-yard drive, which it was Singletary going down, and then you got the unnecessary roughness, and then a quick 15-yard touchdown to Diggs. So boom, that was again just seconds. They go back. Then Pittsburgh comes down. And this one, I was surprised that he decided to kick a field goal. Tomlin did it twice, down 21 and down 28, kicked a field goal in like reasonable range, both of them 4th and 5 or less.
He knows. He knew.
Yeah, those are purely, hey, maybe we'll make the score look a little bit better field goals. Those are not plays to win.
Yeah, and then maybe later we get a touchdown and close in on the spread or something. Type of situation. Yeah.
And then the final one here is going to be my West Herr drive of the game that wrapped up here at the end. Really strong setup for it, and the situation for what they went into. This was really the dagger for them. They had a couple of big plays, but honestly, the drives had actually kind of been sluggish. They hadn't really been super pretty, hadn't finished in the red zone. This one, they go down. It's an 8-play, 77-yard drive, 2 minutes and 37 seconds.
This one puts the 2-minute warning.
Yeah, 31-3. Took it past the 2-minute warning to really, put it out of reach. Super clean drive. The quick one to Diggs, then came back with the really nice one to Shakir. He had 2 explosive plays.
Could have had that big one on the drop on this drive too, right?
Yes, could have been another one there. That was where the drop was, but they came right back. Quentin Morris had a ridiculous catch right after that one. Then another completion to Diggs. Josh scrambled and then came back and hit Shakir for his first career touchdown. That's my West Herr drive of the game. Make sure you're checking out our friends over at West Herr. I'm actually working with them to buy myself a car right now. So make sure you're checking them out. Dealerships all over Western New York, one of the biggest employers in Western New York. Really good, great partners for the show.
Yeah, it is. I'm going to save my drive of the game for later, and it's going to be 100% cop out. And so you can yell at me later after the show.
I like it.
That's fine.
I like it. Then they came back and actually had an interception.
And this is where Elam gets that interception and sort of redeems himself a little bit in the eyes.
He still made a play when he needed to.
He made a play when he needed to, but it was not enough. Later, he still got picked on, like you said, and probably overcame what he was able to get in this interception.
Yeah, unfortunately, not quite enough. He's still going to have an ugly graded game, but we'll see where that goes. And honestly, here I think it probably even could have been one of our nominees for the responsible play of the game. I'll wait to save my Uncle Jumbo's responsible play of the game for later. But here, not going crazy. They did try to take one deep shot. There was only 15 seconds left, and I think they ended up taking a knee with 7 seconds left. And they're in a different game, they probably try to do the tightrope and probably try a long field goal. I think that this was honestly a little bit of pity and just like, let's not risk anything crazy. Let's just go to half and we're fine. Most other games, I think they're like really pressing to try to get a field goal attempt there because it was.
I think it's acceptable at 31-3 to just take it into half. I think that's acceptable at that point. Like you can just like, let's get out of here and go get some orange slices, right?
Yeah,
like,
seriously. So go to halftime,
Yeah.
31-3. This is actually kind of a tough spot sometimes to be in because obviously they're not coming back. This is not a team built to come back from that. So sometimes it's kind of hard to maintain focus and attention.
We've seen some weird stuff in the NFL this year though. Like I didn't feel like a comeback was going to happen, but this drive out of half is where it was going to, if anything was going to happen, you got to do it right away. If you're going to come back from 31-3 and even have a shot at it, you got to score early when you get the ball.
And good on them to put together a little something. Got the defensive pass interference on Elam for a little bit. Had the nice play to Deontay Johnson, which was a nice catch. Went through a couple more, like not chunk plays, but like 7 and 9 yard plays instead of 4 or 5 yard plays. Moving the ball
consistently.
Yeah. Then ended up he ran out of bounds. It counted as a sack, but it was just because Dotson ran him out of bounds.
Right.
And then I did like it that they at least stayed aggressive and went for the fourth down conversion, and the coverage was fantastic. Taron Johnson there.
What I will say about that, what's great about that play that stood out to me, Taron was beat on the play by almost a full step by Deontay Johnson, and Deontay Johnson had the catch, and Taron didn't stop on the play, went all the way through and made the tackle to the ground, and that's something that gets coached up to the DBs. Not all DBs play through the play and make the tackle to the ground, and that is exactly why the ball ended up coming out, and I didn't think that they actually had a chance, but if you were going to give a team a spark, it's converting a fourth down and continuing that drive and going and scoring. Taron Johnson steps up and make a huge play on fourth down to kind of drive through that play, never finish. And it's just kind of a symbol of who he's been as a Bills player since he got here. It's just like, he might get beat, but he's going to finish that play.
Absolutely. And here, quick shout out to our man Will, Cover One Pass supporter all the way from Australia. We sent his goodie packet all the way over there, and so we appreciate you helping us out there and shooting us something back. And I guess this is as good a time as any just to tell people, if you want to know how to support us and everything that you can do, sign up for a One Pass membership. It's in the show description right now. You can scroll down from where you're at and be able to click it, join. It's a fantastic opportunity to support us. The equipment we buy, the subscriptions we have, the logins we have for the different things, how we put out the show and the podcast and everything you listen to. This is the best way to support us. Sign up to be a One Pass member. We have a special discount for $57 because this is going to be our Super Bowl year and Super Bowl 57. So
that's right, baby.
Come on out and help us out. It's a lot of fun. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. You said everything I needed to say about it. It's one thing I will say. This One Pass stuff has been really cool since we rolled it out, and all the time getting pictures from people that get it in their stuff and the excitement and people reaching out, and the support that we've seen. Super cool. I really appreciate you guys, Bills Mafia. You guys are great to us. So thanks to everyone that's out there supporting the whole team. It really matters.
And today was a party in the Cover One Slack channel. It was today was they were on one today.
Yeah.
So coming back here, they start out there. We're now officially in the third quarter, going through everything and coming back, it's hard to get frustrated. But Josh should have had his fifth touchdown here, come right back, 79 yard drive.
79-yard drive.
Quentin Morris trying to make a play, trying to reach out. That's why they coach some people not to reach out, but it's really hard. Your instincts are to try to score, ends up getting the ball knocked loose and into the end zone. So
and the situation on that is if you cross the plane, right, it doesn't matter what happens after the fact, but unfortunately the ball was coming.
It was accurately called just before he crossed.
I have no problems with him reaching out to get the touchdown. You see it work all the time in the NFL. Just unfortunate because this would have been a game probably also up for drive of the game. The way this drive went and for it to finish like that. And I was excited to see them run that tight end pitch thing that you see KC do all the time. You see the Ravens do it. So nice to see that. Even if it's just like you mentioned earlier, that shovel pass, like you mentioned earlier, Josh putting the deep ball to Gabe Davis on tape a number of times, putting that on tape in the red zone matters with what they can then do off of that. So exciting to see them get that, even though it ended in a fumble. And one of the few toxic differential plays for the Steelers on the day.
Yeah. The two turnovers were about all they had. Then a couple.
One 20-yarder.
Most of those were in kind of the garbage time mode. Not a ton. And then coming back,
Vaughn gets his weekly sack on the quarterback. He had a bunch of pressures. He thought he was
Rousseau and Miller, both 4 sacks in 5 games. Both of them on pace for about 14 sacks here this year.
Incredible. It's just incredible to watch him play. He was all over there. Pickett, nice, had a little bit of decent pocket presence a number of times to evade some sacks and stuff like that. Vaughn definitely could have had more, but always good to see him get one. It just everything is as advertised, right? It makes sure that there was a little bit of question to me: is this investment really going to be worth it? And every single week that he's been on the field, yes, the answer is yes.
Oh yeah, the domino effect of what he creates and what he does for the whole rest of the defense is incredible. And,
absolutely insane.
This one is the one I really had an issue with Mike Tomlin. He kicked a field goal down 31-3.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I get it,
there was some debate, it looked like, on the sideline. So what happened before this was you had the Hamlin hit right on the Kenny Pickett slide. Hamlin hits him. There's a scuffle. Yeah, and I agree. Like, you just had your team you're already down. There's some tension.
Yeah.
And like, you just kind of throwing the flag. You're throwing the white towel there a little bit with going for the field goal. Like, you're not even giving any effort into it at that point.
Yeah, I get it. It's not a great situation. I understand being in that kind of spot, and 4th and 13 is not a high conversion rate, but they said he was running out there.
It would have been a 4th and 8, right?
Well, it was 4th and 8, and then they had the false start, and then they kicked on the 4th and 13.
Ran out. Right.
So, it's
hard.
If you were going for it on 4, is 4th and 8 that different of a conversion rate than 4th and 13?
I mean, you're already down. You're 31-3 already.
Yeah, that was 31-3.
31-3. Like, is the 3? What do you? Yeah, I don't get the thought process.
There's no, I will tell you, analytics wise, there is no benefit. 28 and 25 are both down.
There's also no
scores. There's no like statistical one where if we cut it here, you cut it to only 2 scores, and
there's no emotional benefit here either. Like, your team still walks away. You make that field goal, you're still walking away with your tail between your legs, right? Yeah. Like, there's no benefit.
Yeah.
To that.
Well, and rightfully, they come right back, start the 4th quarter. You give the ball to the Bills. They go 41 yards and a great yards after catch from
Diggs is just toying with people.
Oh,
he did that stop pause.
Oh my gosh! And then the couple high, like Deion Sanders high steps.
Another 6 yards. He's just toying with people, man. Yeah. You could see I wish I could actually get the mic'd up of an actual Stephon Diggs, like not the team released mic'd up, because he has some things to say to these guys.
You can tell. You can tell after the play.
Yeah.
I think he says a fair amount.
Yeah.
And then right after that, James Cook, honestly, with his best play as Buffalo Bill, like that is 100% what we got him for. The cut in the open field, the acceleration he outran the angle on the one. That guy had an angle on him, and he just put his foot in the ground, made the cut, and went. I don't know that we're ever going to see amazing vision. I don't know that he's ever going to be some evolved
pass protection,
3-down franchise back. But he is a special weapon. And if they can figure out how to get him the ball in space and be able to let him move, he can play a role on this team.
Sure.
And if nothing else, today was a good step in that direction.
The hype train cannot be stopped at this point. Twitter is going to demand that he gets touches. Yeah. I am in the camp of like, okay, kid, like we see now I see that speed translate into a real NFL game. I'm okay with more touches. Yep. That to me means the 4 he got today and maybe the 1 Moss. Give him the 5-6 touches, right?
I'm even good with the ratio. Sure. Devin Singletary had 7 touches. Cook had 4. If you're telling me that it's 65-35 is the split, because that's about what that works out to. I'm good with a 65-35 split between Singletary and Cook, and I'm glad that Cook got the touches and not Moss. So all those things are shifting in the right direction.
Give me that.
But I'm not ready for Cook to be a primary anymore.
Yes. My only pump the brakes kind of consideration that fans should have going into this week with the demanding that Cook get the ball is that there is probably still going to be more of the 1-2 yard things that we've seen from him and less of this, although he gives you that option. This Bills offense showed today that like, we don't need the urgency to get that option the ball, right? Like, we don't need to force getting James Cook the ball. Let it happen.
We have one player you have to force getting the ball.
Stephon Diggs. Yeah, that's get Diggs going.
He's the only one you force getting the ball to. Everybody
find
else
them when they're
option.
open. Yeah, find them when they're open within the flow of the game. I just don't want people to take this one play and be like, all right, now we got to get this guy the ball X amount of times in the game. Like, just let it happen, let him get his plays, let him be part of the offense, but you don't need it. It's just cherry on the top. It's extra right now.
I'm gonna also split in. I can't talk here. Split in. I think maybe what I was trying to say.
Sure.
Insert my Uncle Jumbo's responsible play of the game, and that's that they sat everybody down. We didn't end up with injuries, thankfully. Maybe a flare up from Jordan Phillips. I saw some people in the chat saying they thought they saw Phillips back on the field. I think they saw him jawing at Daniels on the side during the Pickett Hamlin hit play. I did not see Phillips re-enter the game.
We'll see the snap count soon. Yeah,
but he did move pretty quickly to get over in Daniels' face on the sideline. So
he was also involved in like celebrations where he's like running to the celebration I saw.
So I have a feeling that he felt it in his hamstring enough that they wanted to play it safe.
Call it wraps.
Yes, it did not seem significant. We'll see. They always play it very cautious with hamstrings. Hamstrings are one of the most highest level of recurring injury. But beyond him, it looked like we escaped this game pretty healthy, which, man, do we need, because there were already some questionable guys that we missed for this game that we're hoping we get back for KC. And now being in that kind of position, I think this at least let us go a full game without for the first time. We didn't add to the injury report in quite a while.
I will concede that I will also put this as my responsible play of the game. However, in the moment that this drive, the fourth quarter had already started when this drive, they came back out on the field, and there was reports that Keenum was warming up and Allen went back out. And
Allen played in the fourth quarter, and
he played in the fourth quarter of this game. And I agree. I'm glad they took him out at this point and beyond, because obviously this drive didn't last long. It was 57 seconds. So we only played a minute into the fourth quarter, but still him being out there in a 31-3 game that at this point it's a wrap. You're going into the fourth quarter. I was torn because he was playing so well. I wanted to continue to see that because I don't want to wait a week again to see him just torch NFL defenses. And you want to, I hate to be a Russell Westbrook in the NFL, but I wanted to see him pad that stat line a little bit in garbage time and have something more fun to retweet and talk about all week here. So I was a little torn in that moment, but I was a little frustrated that he was still in there in the fourth quarter, and think that they could have probably pulled it a drive earlier and still walked away, just run out the clock in this fourth quarter and not even risk Allen even having some freak hit in the pocket, or he delivers the ball late and somebody hits him late. Like those are the things that keep me up at night. So it could have come a little bit earlier, but now I am ready to do my drive of the game. If you'll pull up the banner, because I gotta go pull up a tweet from myself. I'm going
to show you my tweet.
I'm not going to show it because I don't know how to do that, but I am going to talk about it. The Bills offense, my drive of the game for the Bills offense is they had 4 total drives in this game that totaled 8 plays, 270 yards, 4 touchdowns, and took 2 minutes and 44 seconds. That's a single drive, Greg.
2 minutes and 44 seconds total.
Total. 8 plays, Greg. 8 plays, almost 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. That's an entire offense's. That's like 2 games for the Chicago Bears of passing production. More
in 2 minutes and 44.
In 2 minutes and 40 seconds in this game. Absolutely, I was like kind of following it. There's another one tweeted that I'd have to go find of what the defense was doing in those 3 and outs, similar, where it was like 8 plays for the Steelers, 2 minutes of drives, but 0 points, right? The Bills able to put up 4 touchdowns in 2 minutes is absolutely unbelievable, mind-boggling to me, that I'm a fan of a team that can do that type of thing against, I don't know, you could say the Steelers DVOA and what they were coming into this game. I don't care. If you are also going to tell me that the Bills lost to the Jaguars last year, I get to celebrate the Bills absolutely dominating the Steelers team in this fashion. So that's my drive of the game, is a collective of drives that equaled other NFL teams' offensive output within 2 minutes of this game. Unbelievable, Greg.
I will say that was just nifty enough of a stat that it doesn't count as a cop-out. So
I copped out a little bit.
We'll give you a pass. We'll give you a pass.
Right.
It was
really just
good,
too fun. I had to talk
about
the
compilation of it was really good. So it was worth it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm hoping Chris puts it together and puts it out on TikTok.
I like it. I like it. He'll know how to do such things.
Yeah.
So the couple others that I want to highlight, like we dominated a game 38.
I stopped taking notes from this point on, just so you know. Once Keenum came in,
I don't know what else happened in this game. I stopped writing stuff down. The time of possession in this game was 36 minutes for the Steelers, 23 minutes for the Bills.
There's never been a more meaningless stat that got more play than time of possession. Who cares?
Has there ever been a game with more meaningless? The Steelers end up with 364 total yards,
Pickett
but when you only score
and
3 points, it doesn't really matter.
a bunch of old guys are gonna open the newspaper tomorrow morning and be like, "Oh, Kenny Pickett played pretty well,
pretty good." And they doubled them in yards per play. The Buffalo Bills ran 54 plays. In 54 plays, they earned 552 yards for a 10.2 yards per play. That's like Oregon in college stuff. That's like Alabama. 10.2 yards per play for an entire NFL game over 54 plays. That is absolutely absurd.
Allen's average depth of target in this game's got to be through the roof. This is going to be unreal when all these stats get unpacked.
Of any of the things Josh had, 13.7 yards per attempt is crazy. And it was over like 25 yards per completion. It's just an absolutely crazy
video game, guys. We're playing
to be able to go in.
I said it a couple of weeks ago, Greg. This is like, I don't play a whole lot of Madden anymore, but when I used to, I would get frustrated if I'd put the level up too much and I couldn't easily score. So I'd always bring it back down to whatever rookie or pro that I could easily score and route teams 38-3. We're watching me play Madden with the Buffalo Bills in real life, like just totally stomping teams. Although I would have kept my starters in and just totally boat race.
Continued to boat race them and rack up stats. I for sure would have done that too.
Yeah.
So from there on out, we had all the backups come in, and respect for that.
Good to see Sarah Neal. I was excited to see my guys
out there playing some good defense, and you want to know what? The backups came in and didn't let the Steelers score. So I like that they maintained everything that they had there. Nothing special from Keenum in the backup offense, couple 3-and-outs.
I had a couple people messaging me and stuff of like, how bad Keenum is. And I think with this game and Trubisky being in town, like they're the same.
Yes.
Like, I wouldn't expect Mitch Trubisky to go out and do anything different than Keenum did today.
They weren't going to show anything. Pittsburgh knew they were just going to do run, pass. They're just trying to milk the clock. There's nothing to be earned in a real situation with the starters, with our starting offensive line, Diggs, Davis, Shakir, with that and Knox and people like that. He would be a perfectly functional quarterback that could get us through a game or two if we had to. But this team goes as far as Josh Allen goes, period. Point blank. There's no difference. It doesn't matter who the backup quarterback is. It wouldn't matter if our backup quarterback was other starters in the league like Tua and Mac Jones and Ryan Tannehill and like Matt Ryan and other guys.
I do think you could, with this team healthy outside Josh Allen, you could capture like an Eagles run. But yeah, you're not going in knowing you're winning games with anybody else besides
Correct. He's the reason we're special. He is why we are special. So
I love it. So what I will say towards about the end of this game, we saw it a little bit here. I didn't catch the play live. I'll say it publicly. I did not like the Shaq Lawson takedown at the end of the game. I know defensive players are playing.
Wasn't technically a penalty, but it was avoidable.
Yes, it didn't happen in the pocket where he was coming in low, but man, there was one angle where he just kind of like clamped on that leg and rolled, and he didn't do a full like gator roll or anything like that, but you just at that point in the game you have to, it's hard because those guys are getting some film together and it's their first time to really get out there and shine, but you got to pull back. And in my opinion, that situation, I'm still in favor of protecting quarterbacks in this league, especially in a situation that just doesn't matter. You'd hate to see that ruin a rookie season for Kenny Pickett instead of being able to play next week. So I was frustrated by seeing that.
It was avoidable in the same exact way you commented on Hamlin's hit on.
I just don't want to
Trubisky.
see it. Yeah. I would hate to see Allen.
If that happened to Allen, we'd be furious. Rightfully, that's exactly where we'd be. So it kind of is what it is to be there. So it's not a penalty. I don't even think it was dirty per se, but it was avoidable. It was an avoidable play and something they got to be conscious of. But I do like the fact that the defense was consistently aggressive, going after him. 10 total hits on Pickett. Interception could have been 2 interceptions, 3 sacks. Really strong day. Obviously, if you hold any NFL team to 3 points, you did a pretty good job. So
especially with the type of players you're missing now. Right. Hyde, Poyer, Edmonds in the middle of that field. You still got Trey White's out, Benford's out. Like there's a lot missing, and you're still, again, I don't care what this team is, you're still held an NFL team to 3 points in the time period where it's designed for teams to score points. Like this is hard to do.
Correct. And so some of those things, as you take a look around the league, this now puts us into some pretty rarefied air. The Bills now have the most points scored in the NFL with, maybe
Point
a
differential's
chance
got to be insane.
the Chiefs might be able to catch them in points scored if they score like 20,
Not differential,
28 or
though.
so.
Yeah.
They're at the second fewest points allowed, and we would need I think the Panthers to score like 12 or 13 points against the Niners to be the fewest points allowed. And the point differential is not even close. So the top teams in point differential, you have the Niners at plus 25, the Jags actually at plus 31, the Chiefs at plus 33, the Eagles at plus 44 are second, and the Bills are now plus 91.
It's unbelievable
in point differential, just boat racing the NFL. Absolutely crazy to be in that kind
Good
of
thing we
situation.
did prove that they can win close games. Because now if they ever actually get into one again, we don't have to worry about that. But it's an absolutely unbelievable time. The stats that come out this week, Greg, are going to be just staggering.
Oh my, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be really fun.
Yeah. The difference between them and the rest of the NFL outside of the Chiefs.
Yeah.
This
Similar to our comments with Mahomes, I think it's the Bills and the Chiefs and then a step down. I don't think the Eagles are on their level yet.
Yeah. So speaking to this defense real quick, Greg, I want to ask you if this type of productive performance from a side of the ball, the offensive side of the ball, say Brian Daboll was getting calls for being the hottest head coaching candidate in the NFL.
Yeah.
Leslie Frazier has one of the hottest defenses in the NFL yet again, multiple years in a row doing this. And you don't hear a peep outside of the Buffalo market in calls for Leslie Frazier being one of the best available people to come in and run your franchise. I get he's older. I think that's okay. And I think that he's proven to be able to come in and turn around the culture. It's just the track record of success that he has in Buffalo, and having been a head coach before, it blows my mind that he's not on these lists because he continues to produce. It's so hard to have this type of defense year in and year out in the NFL, and he continues to do it.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy to be in that kind of situation. So I hope that he gets the chance he deserves. I think we've seen enough openings now that I don't expect it. I just don't.
There's worse coaches right now running NFL teams.
Multiple. Yeah. Matt Rule, Matt Rivera, multiple guys just where you needed like
just a steady hand,
an adult leader in some of those places. And
Jeremy White on WGR maybe last week, I made a graphic because he talked about Ken Dorsey and Leslie Frazier being a buddy cop movie because their personalities are so different, right? Like Dorsey's so intense and he can be like kind of nerdy,
fiery, and swearing,
but Leslie always feels calm. He's my favorite press conference every week because it's so steady and calm, and you would think organizations would be seeking that. That's
absolutely. Nice one from Kel here. I am rooting for the Giants. I root for the Giants when I watch them. It's fun to see Daboll fired up. I like seeing them do well.
I'm torn. I'm rooting for them because those are my boys and I want success for them. Them succeeding makes Saquon Barkley to the Bills completely off the table. Why would they make that move if they're going to be in the playoff race?
Today ended it. Today ended it. Like I had said before, wow, their schedule coming up, they're not going to be able to do at 4-1.
You're in play, baby.
There's only 3 more games before the trade deadline. So there's, even if they lost all 4 and they're still 4-4.
Yeah, it can tank after that, but you're in play right now.
They're not
in the NFC. They'll get it's wide open in the NFC right now. You just got to get hot.
Yeah, we need to root for the Raiders to get boat raced by the Chiefs to be 1-4. I would take Josh Jacobs. I would take him.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, he's one that's also final year of his deal.
Can you give me some money for Hunter Renfrow? We can't make that.
And Josh Jacobs is actually way cheaper because they didn't pick up his 5th year option, so he'd only cost us like $1 million to get, which is more attainable. So root for the Chiefs to boat race the Raiders, and then
we'll looking now? We just pillaged the Steelers team. Are we also now looking to pick through their roster?
Sure.
Is there? Sure. Like, are we getting in that point of the season where the Bills are going to ramp up for a Super Bowl run? We should be looking at some of these damaged teams here as we approach the trade deadline.
Yeah, and I think one spot that I'm okay waiting on Benford to come back and Trey White to come back.
We're about to have a plethora of talent.
It's not crazy to look at the secondary. I think Hamlin has played well enough that I'm okay with it. I wouldn't hate adding a Dean Marlowe as a backup, like into the room, that if something happens, we have another guy. I don't love that we don't have a third safety on the roster.
Sure.
Like that it's right now our plan is, well, maybe it's Cam Lewis or maybe it's some person named Kyler McMichael. We literally don't have another safety. So I
Sure.
wouldn't mind adding someone there. At corner, I don't know that we're going to get somebody. I think like a Xavier Rhodes kind of thing is the plan there. I don't know that there's anyone readily available. Teams do not give up cornerbacks. You need cornerbacks. I'll look at some of the bad teams, and if anyone
I was
has
gonna
an
say I'll scour
expiring
some bad teams
contract,
this week too. Yeah, that's exactly the thing to look for is go to the spot track, look for guys that are going to be free agents next year on bad teams right
expiring
now.
contracts on the Panthers or the Texans or something like that, I'll
But
look.
yeah, I mean, nothing comes out in my head immediately here. But here's the thing: in a couple of weeks, I think it's a fine line. Chris and I were actually talking on a Twitter Spaces before the game, and Mookie was on, started talking about the quarterback room, and you go from really stressing the depth of this cornerback room the last couple of weeks to maybe having a embarrassment of riches in this cornerback room
4
here in a
starting
couple of weeks.
caliber corners.
Yeah, if you're getting Benford back, and we're assuming Trey starts to ramp up here in the next week to come back, now the depth looks like if Elam's out there having a bad game, that he could be down to cornerback 4 in your rotation, right? Like, and now you have a nice healthy rotation to allow Trey to come back slowly. Like,
and I assume
I don't think adding another guy at this point makes any sense.
Not unless there's, I mean, I can't
Another
even
injury.
think of
Knock on that
anyone.
mahogany.
Yeah. Yes. Well, it would be if the Colts continued to crumble and they wanted to trade us Stephon Gilmore, like that level of player. Like if there was someone who is available, who is an expiring deal on a losing team, and it was just a plug and play starter. Okay. Maybe there's something there, but those guys just don't exist at corner. Like that's just not attainable to get. So I think, Xavier Rhodes is going to be there. I actually think he will be playable depth when he's able to come in. Benford obviously showed he's playable. I think it's going to be Trey White and Dane Jackson. Initially, Dane's continued to play pretty well. Yeah. So not even needing to play Kyer Elam or Benford.
Yeah. And in the safety room, you said they don't have that third safety. Hopefully Jordan Poyer gets right here. I don't hate Poyer and Hamlin.
Poyer and Hamlin's fine.
We can make that work.
Yeah. And Johnson's fine. Like he's okay for depth. I wouldn't mind a Dean Marlowe-esque. It doesn't need to be him. Or the same signing that Xavier Rhodes was. I wouldn't mind Jaquiski Tartt or one of those kind of guys. Like, go get me one more adult in the room. I don't want a fourth quarter weird injury, meaning Cam Lewis is playing like important snaps against the Chiefs in a late game. I think we need something better than that. But other than that, I'll flip it to the other side. We've talked about it a lot. People ask about it constantly. Von Miller has talked about it a lot and guaranteed it. I don't think
Greg, it's a lock.
I think Odell Beckham Jr. is going to join the Bills. I don't think that's crazy. I think that I'll stop short of a lock. Von Miller literally guaranteed it on Richard Sherman's podcast.
You're hedging, Greg, because you're a betting man.
I think the Bills are the most likely team of anyone. I do think the Rams continuing to lose helps us a lot. And I will even take it a step further that if no really good team suffers an injury at receiver between now and that mid-November, we got probably about 4 weeks. If another top end team, if Mike Evans got hurt, if one of the other really good teams, if Juju Smith-Schuster got hurt, and there was all of a sudden a like starting caliber role on another excellent team, that's the only variable I could see changing it, because no team's going to throw a ton of money at Odell Beckham Jr. Right. None of the really good teams have cap space.
It's not going to be the Eagles
to throw like huge money at anything.
Right.
So he's going to get the same kind of money from everyone. And all he's going to be doing is, where can I get the most snaps with the best quarterback to put up the numbers that will get me one more contract? Because he could get one more contract this coming spring. So all he's going to care about is, playing with a top end team. It's going to be Mahomes, it's going to be Allen, it's going to be Brady, it's going to be it would have been Stafford, but they're sinking steadily and losing to the Cowboys right now, I see. So I think the Bills are the most likely, and short of there being something unforeseen of just a no doubt about it opening where he gets like a 10 target a game role with a good quarterback, I think the Odell Beckham Jr. is going to be a Bill and will be pretty nasty top 3. Even though I love Shakur, I'm happy with McKenzie. That's all great. adding Odell Beckham Jr., he splits that number 2 role with Gabe Davis.
Yeah, the last time we saw Odell Beckham Jr. playing, he was the Super Bowl MVP.
He was about to be the Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah. No, I think it's a lock. I'll put my reputation on the line. I don't have as big of a reputation, so I'm willing to risk it. No, but just there's too much smoke. Like there really is. And we've heard if you put together all the clips of things we've heard, Von Miller, the way he's talked, the way Brandon Beane has talked about Von Miller in the conversations that they have, and how he's like, I believe
if he legit vouches for a guy, it carries some weight.
Yes. And he said, he's like, we know Brandon Beane likes good players. We know he likes big name players. Like he likes nice things, just like you and I, Greg.
We
like this buy nice things. And he likes to do that too. So we know that that's on his radar for sure. It's going to be on his radar. And this gives exactly what you said, Odell Beckham Jr., every single thing he wants. He gets to play with, if not the best quarterback in the world, the guy that's in that tier. Inarguably. He's inarguably in that tier. I will say it's him and Mahomes.
It is Mahomes. I will take Josh, and I 100% would expect every Chiefs fan to take Mahomes.
Do it.
And I would expect the grand media masses to be like 50-50
split.
Yeah.
Yes.
But they are by themselves. It's those two.
Sure, tier it up, right? Yeah. Like that's fine, but you have the opportunity to play with that. You have the opportunity to play with guys that are going to pull the gravity, like Stephon Diggs, a really good receiver like Gabe Davis. I think his ego could handle bringing in an Odell Beckham Jr. He's such a team first type of guy; he can handle that.
We're not adding OBJ long term. It's just for this run.
No, it's just let's go chase Davis this ring, just like he did in LA.
Contract. Yeah,
this is an LA redo all over again, and Von's very good friends with him. He says he's out there chasing rings. There isn't a better opportunity in the NFL. If you're on the outside, objectively looking at all the NFL teams lined up, there's no better opportunity to go win a Super Bowl ring and still get your stats and still ball out than the Buffalo Bills. It just makes too much sense. Like you said, something could come up where the offer of playing time and maybe money is a little bit more substantial, but I do think he's got enough credit in his name that as soon as he does get healthy, as long as he's somewhat productive for the team that he's chasing a ring with, he has the opportunity to go get a ring and a big contract just based on, he doesn't even have to ball out to get that big contract. I think just teams seeing him healthy, teams will throw money at Odell Beckham.
Yeah. And I will say, I'll give the Eagles as a dark horse there.
They're the only other like Super Bowl favorite teams that I think are in play that are playing well right now, heading into that. Like, Packers would be in line for that, but they aren't playing that well. Like you said, the Rams, like some of these other teams that are Super Bowl contenders it looks a little shaky at the moment.
And all those teams, Packers, Eagles, Rams, Buccaneers, I think are in the next tier. I think it's Chiefs versus Bills. All 6 of those teams are in the same bucket of have enough money to sign him, but don't have so much cap space that they can throw a silly number at him. He's going to be accepting a relatively small deal. He's going to be signing at a time where he's only playing like 6 or 7 games anyway. So he's only getting like a third of the contract as it is. So
some of these teams have to have a real conversation with themselves about how open their Super Bowl window actually is now too, right? To bring in a guy like this, it's still a substantial move. How close are you actually?
I think it's 4. I think that it's Philly and Tampa Bay on that side. It's KC and us on this side. Those are the teams that should be talking about it.
Yep.
So I think, and one other one here that was fun that I saw, you're never going to get me to shy away from wanting Cordarrelle Patterson. I don't care how old he is. Sadly, the Falcons put him on IR, and I think that window means it would be really hard to have him back and healthy enough to pass a physical to be able to be tradable. But yes, he's the exact kind of player I would love in this offense. He's the 31-year-old version of what we want James Cook to be. Like, he's not actually really a running back. You just get him in space and throw him swing passes. And
I think I'd be more trusting of him getting, say, Devin Singletary goes down, needs somebody else to get those 8-9 rushes. The majority of a rush, I would trust that much more than leaning on Cook. That's really still going to be Cook's issue here going forward is does the team still have to dress and activate Moss because they don't trust Cook to take over that role if something was to happen to Devin?
Yeah. And I know I've seen a couple comments, and I'll hear it on Twitter. Me wanting Odell Beckham Jr. is purely because I want a trophy. It has nothing to do with my feelings on the future of Khalil Shakur and the future of Gabe Davis.
What's this have to do with Khalil Shakur?
And the future of Isaiah McKenzie and different people developing on the team and getting better and whatnot. It's that, hey, is my team better tomorrow if I add a talent like Odell Beckham Jr.? Oh, it is? okay, let's do that because I want a trophy real bad.
Yeah, here's the other thing, Greg, with this conversation is you always try to add more talent when you can, when you have an opportunity to do it,
every time,
especially in this league where that you're going to have this opportunity to add him late in the season and heading into the playoffs. Like you mentioned it, look at teams that have headed late into the season and lost wide receivers, and there's nothing left. You're picking over scrap heaped to try to get somebody. You have an opportunity to add an Odell Beckham Jr. to an already Super Bowl caliber roster late in the season. Like you have to entertain it. You have to make that go. And if
really
it's
well
hinders
said,
development.
Yeah. So Brady showed up in Tampa. He had Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Cameron Brate. He still went out and wanted to get Antonio Brown, Gronk, and Leonard Fournette.
Yeah, you can't have too many guys.
There's no such thing as too many weapons.
No, especially in the playoffs. Like
yes,
we saw it with
Tampa
Diggs.
Bay would have been in the Super Bowl last year instead of the Rams if they didn't lose Godwin and Evans at the same time.
Yeah, and you just look at what happened to the Bills last year. I think a big part of or was it the year before what happened to them and what slowed them down from the Super Bowl was Diggs had
playing on the broken leg, and
Stephon Diggs was playing with a torn oblique. Like I don't know if people oblique sounds maybe like it isn't that serious, but
it's just like turf toe. It sounds minor and like not that big a deal, and is actually horrible.
Like you've torn your core. Essentially, your core muscle, and like you still go out there and play at a high level. Yeah, and Beasley was hurt too, playing on like a broken leg in that 2020 playoff. So like being able to add and have that depth going into the playoffs, knowing that your team's hopefully playing 20 football games, you can't convince me that's a bad thing for anybody.
Jo with a really good one. Baltimore has safety depth, but they're also competing with us in the playoffs. I'd be shocked if they would trade us,
especially after what happened to them. What happened to them a year ago with the injuries. I wouldn't think they would want to move on depth.
Yeah, I don't get me wrong. If they all of a sudden lose the next 4 games in a row and are 2-6, sure. But I also don't see that happening either. I think Baltimore's pretty good.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, well, that was kind of a fun side jaunt for
Greg,
that's what happens when it's 38-3.
I'm here by myself. I'm gonna just go and tweet about it. We could do like a marathon show tonight, but I don't care. And I'm jazzed up about the Bills. I could talk all night, buddy.
And one last thing, because I see the comment here. I don't fault anyone who isn't a fan of how Odell Beckham Jr. has been perceived in the media.
Sure.
I think that he does like himself a lot. I do. I will say, and it's important to note, all of his teammates love him. Talk glowingly about him. Yeah. And I will say there's a lot of people who wouldn't have looked awesome at the end in those losing Giants places and wouldn't have looked awesome in that train wreck of a Browns locker room, and then would flourish when they went to the Rams in that locker room in that situation, which isn't that different than coming here. Just like there were plenty of guys who would have looked bad with Kirk Cousins in Minnesota and then flourish when they come to Buffalo and are in our culture and our scene. So I would encourage people, and I'm encouraging this because I think it's likely enough that I want to brace you guys for it. Be open to the fact that you probably don't know everything about Odell Beckham Jr. And I'm going to read how consistently and unanimously his teammates support and love him and talk glowingly about him, and do not talk trash about him afterwards. Like all the stuff you heard on the Thursday night game, Richard Sherman, like, couldn't be more excited to trash Russell Wilson. You never hear stuff like that about OBJ.
This isn't Antonio Brown.
Correct.
Like, he's not
correct. He is not a space cadet.
Yeah, he's not off his
He's a diva, like Diggs is a diva.
Totally.
Diggs is a diva.
And Diggs never got the opportunity to be in a market like New York. I think as a young man, when you come into a market like that, it's hard for your head not to explode, especially if you are a wide receiver who's
make that catch that has been played more than any other play in like
he's an absolute
last
stud.
20 years of football.
He's a superstar NFL talent. I understand why his head got big. There's been plenty of great receivers who have gone under that diva role and were still super productive. That doesn't bother me at all. Von Miller spoke highly of him in terms of, like, he was like, this is what this team needs, the type of energy and excitement that he brings into a locker room. And Von was raving about this locker room. He was like, it would fit perfectly. I trust Von Miller explicitly.
If he vouches for him, I'm in.
He's a head statesman in the NFL. of players. Like he is one of the most elite players, still active players in the league. Everyone in the league respects him. He desires to be a GM himself. He knows the league. When you hear him talking on other podcasts, he pays attention. He watches football every day. Like he pays attention to what's going on. And for him to come out and just openly say, like, I support this 100%. He's the best teammate I've ever had. All this type of stuff, like, sign off. That does it for me. And even if he didn't say that, I trust so strongly in the leadership council that this team's put together and the locker room culture that they've built that you can absorb divas, quote unquote divas, or quote unquote guys with character issues. You can absorb them in your locker room. If they don't work out, peace out. We're still going to keep going forward. And if you do, you're along for the Super Bowl ride.
And this, he will behave because he wants to look good and wants one more contract, and he'll get it from someone else. That's fine. We're not going to pay him afterwards, but we'll take him there. So
I'm gonna go get some money from the Patriots. They'll hand him something.
That's fine. All right. So that was a really fun side tangent. And again, this is what happened. This is like when commentators need to like riff and fill time in the fourth
today.
quarter.
We heard a lot of it
when
today.
It's a 38-3. So
they even pulled out. They got to the. Did you know Tomlin and McDermott went to the same school together? They pulled out their bid at the end.
Yeah, we had to do a Jim Nance and Tony Romo here to fill time to be able to go through. So.
Well, we didn't have anything to talk about for a fourth quarter. So
yeah. So anything else for the people as we transition into probably the biggest regular season week we're going to have the rest of the year? Because I got to tell you guys, once we get past these next two games of Chiefs Packers, and Packers is looking less and less like the showdown they thought it was going to be, there's an awful lot of boat races ahead. There's going to be a lot more of Aaron and I having to fill time here because there ain't going to be that much to talk about with these boat races if you look at the rest of our schedule.
Yeah, it's about to get fun. We had talked preseason about, getting to that Packers game, being 3-3 at the bye type of thing, and being okay with that because of the tough schedule that you had. And really, the way this team's playing, I just don't see them really going into any game where I feel like they're going to lose. I still think that Miami game was an anomaly. I think that we'll look back at that one similar to like we looked at the Patriots game in hindsight. Like, that was weird that happened in that weird weather storm.
Speaking of which, I believe the Dolphins got smacked around by the Jets today, 40-17.
Yes.
They did lose the third quarterback. They lost Teddy Bridgewater and literally had to play a person I was not familiar with. I did not know Skylar Thompson was a person.
Never heard of it.
So I learned that Skylar Thompson was a person when he went in the game for the Dolphins. But they got boat raced by the Jets, which I don't care what quarterback you're playing. You can't let that happen.
No, you cannot. So, no, I feel very good heading into this. Is a big collision for the NFL. The NFL loves that it's playing out this way for this week. This is going to be probably the biggest.
I love that we get to scout fully and watch the entire Chiefs game. I always like it when I get to watch the opponent's full game.
Yeah, definitely. This week is really what we've all been waiting for. I don't think this is going to be, if the Bills come out and they win against the Chiefs, this doesn't take that monkey off the back. They beat him in the regular season last year. They still need to beat him when it matters. Yeah, you got to beat
them here. Makes it more likely that playoff game is in Buffalo.
Exactly.
So I care. This game matters. I want it. It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Oh, we're better than the Chiefs now. That will only matter when we beat them in the playoffs.
Yes.
But winning this game makes it more likely that game is in Buffalo, and I want that.
Yes, but this is going to be the only one, Greg. That the Packers game, I'm already feeling pretty confident, but I felt pretty good going into the year even about that one. I'm not on the Packers right now, but this KC game, dude. I think Bills Mafia is a little bit, we want Josh Allen to be so much better than Mahomes that we've kind of convinced ourselves that he is that much better than Mahomes, but he really, every week I see, every time I see Josh Allen do something crazy, I flip on to Patrick Mahomes and he's matching it, and vice versa. They're just matching each other with great stuff. So
what Mahomes did to that Tampa Bay defense last week was freaking terrifying.
Yes. And if these injuries don't,
Tampa Bay's defense is good, and he destroyed them with 41 points.
Yeah. It's going to be a problem playing Mahomes without Hyde, let alone if Poyer can't go, if the middle of this defense can't
I really do hope we get Edmonds and Poyer and Benford and everyone back. And so one last question before
Phillips,
we go in.
Phillips being healthy for this one would be a big one too. That defensive line, need all hands on deck, man.
What do you think on strategically playing the Chiefs without Trey White, knowing you'll have him back in the playoffs and not wanting them to see him?
Well,
or is it 100% purely if he's healthy, he goes. If he's not, he doesn't.
Yeah, it would be if he was healthy to play this game. I think you have to play him. It's because of that home field advantage that could play out from this particular game. I don't think he will get healthy in time for this game. I think what you're going to see from the Trey White front, if I had to put up my neck out for a prediction on that, I think late in this week, you'll see an activation.
Open the practice
And
window,
it will open the
they give
window,
him
and
the bye week, and then
he'll travel with the
having
team
the
and
bye
go.
week after Kansas City and giving him a 2-week
Yes.
stretch of warm up into the Packers game is
That is
smart.
what I think it'll
It's
be.
smart.
And McDermott will give him some opportunities to, travel with the team and go through the process and get that window all started up. But I think they'll kind of sneak that news in late in the week. And not
Selfishly,
I
still want him to play.
1,000%. Yes. I would love that. The scenario where it would make the most sense for me to get him rushed back. We don't know where he is, right?
We don't know percentages, process. We have no
Who
idea.
knows what they're doing behind the scenes with him. But what would make me feel better is if it was Benford, Elam, and Dane Jackson all out there, and you could rotate and maybe have Trey in on a snap count where it's third and longs, passing situations,
red zones.
Yes, where Trey, let's ease him back in on a pitch count. That would make me feel a lot better this first week having him back. But otherwise, I say you get him clocked in now, and in that 2-week window, let's just unleash him.
Yep. Anything else for the people here? Today was a fun day, stress-free day, nice and easy. We talked about it. You and I almost predicted this spot on. We had pieces of it. Good. You had 31-10. I had 38-13. So both of us were right there in the ballpark, and not even as much of a blowout as what it was. But we were both right there.
It's still kind of weird, man, doing these shows for so many years. I used to pick these games so much closer just because the NFL does that, right? Like the NFL games are so close that you would predict games to be close, but it's hard to line up a matchup and watch a matchup all week and dig into it and not take this Bills team by 2+.
Nope.
Point. Yeah.
Next week will be a tight one.
Yes.
Next week
will get my anxiety. Aaron will be back for the matchup with KC for sure.
So thanks again. The chat, you guys were awesome tonight. This was fantastic. Thank you to our guys over at West Herr and Uncle Jumbo's and all their support. Make sure you're checking out everything we have going on at Cover One. There's going to be awesome preview shows and all kinds of stuff breaking down. We're excited, working on some really exciting guests to bring on for the KC preview show. All kinds of stuff that we're doing here. Again, before you leave, press that like button. It really does help us. That's how the algorithm works and how other people find out about the show. Be able to help us out, sharing everything there. Take a look at our One Pass membership. If you haven't done it yet, it really does help us out a ton. We're actually about to ship out like another 100 welcome kits and t-shirts and decals and everything going out. So appreciate you guys very, very much there. But on behalf of Aaron Quinn, I am Greg Tompsett. You've been listening to Cover One Buffalo, and we are